So this video is for my modern day martial artists who are looking to apply some of the principles that we learn on the mat to your everyday life. In today's age, the martial artist isn't the hero that's going around town and getting into confrontations and physically fighting people. The modern martial artist is the everyday person that shows up to work, that has a family, that has friends, and we're trying to apply some of the principles that we learn on the mat to our everyday life. And in martial arts, we learn a lot, but sometimes we have to figure out how to translate those lessons that we learn on the mat to our everyday life. We're not going around town getting in confrontations and saving cats from trees or anything. Yes, we do like to consider ourselves as modern day heroes, but our challenges are more mental than physical challenges, but the principles that we learn on the mat still apply. So I'm making a video about how to be hard to break. Now, I'm not talking about in the physical sense. Yes, on the mat, we learn how to be tough physically. We learn how to endure hard situations. But we want to be able to take those principles that we learn on the mat and take them off the mat. And I'm here to let you know that those same principles that you physically learn on the mat apply to your everyday life. I broke it down to 5 different categories, and hopefully it'll be something useful so you guys can make that connection between what you're doing on the mat and what's going on in your everyday life. So the first principle that we learn on the mats is resilience. Now, when we talk about resilience has very little to do with talent, very little to do with strength, very little to do with being tough. It's more of a mental thing than anything else. Resilience, if I were to break it down into its simplest terms, means the ability to put one foot in front of the other. The ability to continue going when things get tough. Like I said, it doesn't require talent. A lot of times, the resilient person will beat the talented person. It keeps you in the game long enough to eventually win the game. Resilience doesn't require you to start off being the strongest, start off being the fastest. Resilience teaches us that if we continue to do something over and over again, we will eventually get it right. We'll eventually get to where we want to be. And in martial arts, because that journey is so long, it's, when we're training, a lot of us have been on the mats for decades. We're still trying to improve. We're still working toward goals. And it takes a lot of resilience to take on this martial arts lifestyle. And that resilience translates to a lot of other things in your life as well. So, as martial artists, we find out quickly that we have to be able to play the long game. We find out quickly that results are not going to happen in 2 months, 3 months. We find out quickly that whatever talent that we have is not going to be enough to get us to where we want to go. So we have to be able to embrace the fact that even though the journey is a long journey, we get there by putting one foot in front of the other. And that resilience is something that you can take to any place in your life. The next principle is that comfort weakens confidence. In life, we're instinctively looking for comfort. We're instinctively looking for the easy way to do things. And we have to take that instinct, take those instincts and reframe them in order to get the results that we're looking for. Because also as martial artists, we want confidence. And if we're always taking the easy way out, if we're always looking for the quickest way, the light load, that will translate into us not having the confidence that we need in order to get the things done that we need to get done. So the pursuit of comfort can take away from our confidence. If I never had to do anything difficult, if I've always lived a comfortable life, I'm not going to be very confident that when life inevitably shoots challenges at me, that I'm going to be able to overcome those challenges. So we have to be careful in our instinctive pursuit of comfort that we don't forfeit our confidence. But if we frame our comfort in a way that we are looking for the ultimate comfort through confidence. So if we pursue our comfort through the means of confidence, then we can have both. There's comfort in knowing that you can overcome whatever obstacle is in front of you. There's comfort in having the proof of going through something difficult and overcoming it. Because confidence comes from you having evidence, you being able to look back and remember something that you did that was difficult. Remember obstacles that you overcame. Remember having to overcome hardship. And when you can reach back into your memory and pull those things forward, you can look at whatever obstacle in front of you with the confidence of knowing that you are capable of overcoming it. And when you have that confidence, you have a level of ultimate comfort, knowing that there isn't much that can stand in your way of what you want. So instead of pursuing comfort just for the sake of comfort, we should be pursuing the ultimate comfort that comes with confidence. The next principle is training under pressure. Now, I don't mean just the pressure of training. Yeah, when you get on the mat and you're sparring, you got somebody in front of you that's trying to punch you in the face, and you overcome that. You might be a little winded, tired, but you push through. Yes, those pressures are there on the mat. But sometimes, as a modern day martial artist, life will give you pressure. Life will put obstacles in front of you that'll get in the way of your training. Life will throw things at you that makes you want to say, hey, I'm going to skip training today. But what I propose is that through training, you can get over those obstacles. Personally, in my life, training has gotten me through some tough situations, some tough pressure. And it was because I was training that I was able to navigate through those tough situations. And when life throws things at you that makes you want to take the week off, take the day off, skip this day or skip that day, it's important to train through that pressure. Martial arts can be helpful to you if you continue doing it, even though life outside of the gym is putting a lot of pressure on you. A lot of times you get tempted to say, hey, life's already pressing me, so I might as well not put more pressure on myself. But what I'm saying is that martial arts and staying on the mat is what's going to get you through those pressures that life inevitably throws at you. The next principle is recovery and reset and rest. A lot of times, as hard workers, as go-getters, there's a deep sense of guilt involved with resting. It's hard to decipher where rest ends and laziness begins. And I know personally, I've been really guilty of pushing myself too hard. Even this year, I had a huge wake-up call, a huge medical scare, because I was pushing myself too hard. And that taught me the importance of rest and how rest is a key component of resilience. If you want to continue to put one foot in front of the other, you have to rest. You have to work rest and recovery in your routine because it's necessary. It's not the hard push that builds the strength. It's the rest and the nourishment that builds the strength. Even if you're taking something like building muscle, the muscle isn't built when you're breaking it down. The muscle's built when you're resting and recovering. So we have to look at that rest and recovery and reset as the thing that facilitates our resilience. We have to rest. And we have to get rid of that guilt that comes along with resting. You know, I was one of those guys who would look at, you know, the older guys, and I guess I fall into that category as the older guys, but they will always be on using a little back roller and doing their stretches and stuff, and I'm like, look at these guys. But you know, that was my stubbornness and immaturity that was speaking. We gotta rest, we gotta stretch, we gotta make sure that our nutrition is up to par. All of those things facilitate you being able to continue and stay in it for a long period of time, stay in it for a lifetime. Otherwise, you're just gonna break. So rest and recovery. And then lastly, huge principle, we have to become someone who is not easily knocked off course. Now, what I mean by that is that we have to embrace the boredom of repetition, of repetitiveness. A lot of times we get distracted by the brand new shiny thing, the brand new trend. And we don't stick with anything long enough to get anywhere. Some of us are easily distracted by the next thing. And we all know somebody, maybe some of us are that person or was that person who every time you talk to them, they're doing something new. And I used to envy those type of people. I used to think that type of person was just interesting. I'm like, yo, they have to be so brave. They're always willing to try something new. But what I realized is that when you break down how the stages of doing things goes, you have that initial stage where spirits are high, motivation is high, excitement is high, expectations are high. And then that period passes and it gets boring. That initial period is easy to stay in the game. It's brand new, it's fun. And a lot of people, most people fall off during that boring stage. That's when the motivation fades away. That's when there's no more of a dopamine hit. And sometimes we can make the mistake of taking that as a sign that we're not maybe living in our purpose because we don't have that dopamine hit that we're not feeling it. And then we get knocked off course. So we have to stay focused and understand that that boring stage is actually where the work happens. That's actually where the progress happens. And if we can get past that boring stage, we can get to the result stage. Like I said, I used to look at those type of people. You know, they always got something new and interesting going on. And I'm like, man, that person is really, really brave. And I also used to look at myself as someone who was just unlucky because I never, not really understanding how things went. I thought that the way it went is that you try something new, and then while you're excited about it, it materializes like it's magic. I didn't know that you try something new, it doesn't work. You continue working at it when it's not fun, and then it works. I thought that when you stumble on something, all the stars align, and then boom, it works, and everything happens in this exciting flash. So when I didn't see that happening in my own experience, I thought maybe I was unlucky. And I was looking at the person that's always doing something new, that was always excited about something new. I was looking at that person as, man, that person is on to something. But then as we get older and I'm seeing those same person, not really getting, same people, not really getting anywhere with anything, excited about the 100th new thing that they came up with, I realized that what I was experiencing was actually reality. I always felt like everything that I do required me to have to do a bunch of things that I didn't want to do, or I wasn't interested in doing, or I wasn't excited about. But life has shown me that that is the way it goes. And now I look at my experience as, I'm glad that I got that reality check quickly. Like, I literally, when I was younger, I felt like whatever I wanted to do required more work than maybe the next person. But what I realized is that, no, it requires the same amount of work from everybody. And I just got my reality check early. And now I consider myself lucky for having learned that lesson early on in life. But to close out, the modern day martial artist isn't drawing his sword out in the middle of the street in town and fighting off villains and saving the day in the way that we think that they should, or that we should. But we are living a hero's journey. We are on a hero's journey. And a lot of the trials and tribulations that we face in life are more dynamic than just a physical threat in front of us. But the tools that we're taking from the mat still apply. And the journey is still noble. So, as martial artists, in order to live out the hero's journey that we set out to live, we have to make sure that we make ourselves hard to break. All right, guys, gotta run. Coach Suli, Reps and Sweat Martial Arts and Fitness. This was Mat Chat.